my darlings, it's Saturday afternoon, Saturday the 15th of February, and I just thought I would sit down and have a little chat, say hi, how you doing? Hope your February Saturday is going as well as ours, if it can be described as well. I don't know. Anyway, I thought we'd continue with what we spent at the shops today. Yes, I know, might be a bit boring for some. Some are actually finding it quite interesting. Um, so here we are. I wrote it all down for us, and yeah, I'll tell you what we spent at the shops today. £167.27. That's a little bit less than last week because we spent £182.21. So we spent $14.94 less this week than we did last week. And the week before we spent $127.76. So if we minus 167.27 from the 127.76, we spent £39.51 more this week than we did the very first week that we started doing this. In a grand total, in 3 weeks of food shopping for this family of 3, and just in this house, £477.24 has been spent on food. Out of our £600 budget for food this month for a family of 3, we have £122.76 left over for next week. So we are upping our food budget in March by £50 as prices are all over the place. They are. It's oh my goodness me. So we're increasing our budget by £50 as of next month. So instead of our budget being £600 every month on food, it is now £650 on food every month. I hope we can, keep within that budget. If I spend any less, fantastic. I'll just put that back into the pot for a rainy day. I suppose the one good thing about Tesco's at the moment is the budget that the way their point system works on their club card. They're doing double club card points for the month of February. So if you are doing your shops there, at least you're getting double points on your club card, which if you don't spend any of it and you keep accumulating every week, by the time you get round to Christmas, the theory is that the money that we have accumulated in points over the year will pay for Christmas. I don't know, with the way the price of food is going up, whether or not that's going to be possible, but at least it will be something towards it. In an ideal world, yes, wonderful if it paid for it, but food is increasing a lot. Biggest splurge this week was a joint of meat for Sunday dinner. It will be roast beef when we've cooked it, and that was £15.94. It's probably about that big, so we'll get a Sunday lunch out of it, and then we will have plenty of offcuts, cold cuts, should I say. Offcuts, it's wood, isn't it? Cold cuts, so we can have sandwiches next week for lunch, probably up until Wednesday, so that'll take care of all of us, which is a good thing. Where does it end? Where does it end? The cost of food. Now, I'm very fortunate that I'm in a position where I can up my budget by another £50. But others, no. And we are cutting back. Everything that I am purchasing within the food budget, um, according to this, I'm I'm seeing what meals I can make out of it, what extra meals I can make. Like tonight, I'm doing minced pork in Somerset sauce as a cottage pie, and that will feed the three of us tonight. And then I will portion it up and turn those into meal pots for my daughter to take with her to work so that she's got a meal when she's doing a night shift. So I'll probably get 3 portions out of the dinner tonight, and then with a bit of luck I'll get at least another 2 portions out of it, so she's got 2 nights worth of a hot meal at like 3 in the morning when she's on the nurse, when she's on the children's ward. She's doing night shifts this week, bless her. So I want to know that she's got a warm meal, because she's going to be very, very tired. When you get to 3 in the morning, you need the calories, you need the to wake you up, the oomph to, like, good morning, I'm here, I'm awake, I've eaten something, it's given me a bit of energy. So that's where I'm stretching that meal, and I'm stretching absolutely everything. I really am. And I'm not the only mum in Britain that's doing this. We're all feeling it. We really are. So, as of March, my shopping bill for the home is going up to £650. And our other child, who's in Newcastle at the moment, will be sending her usual £50 a week for her food, because after she's paid for her course and she's paid for her living accommodation, there is precious little left over for food, and this is to help her with a food bill. And she doesn't even go out on student nights and things like that, because they just simply can't afford it. And it's a lot more expensive shopping for yourself as a single person than it is for getting a bit more and then divvying it up between three. It's just that everything costs more. The gas, the electric, everything. I mean, these are included in the rent that she pays in the student accommodation, but still, there's hardly anything left over after she's paid her rent. You know, and that's why we do the shopping for her. So, at home it's £650 for food, right? And every week we're sending another 50 up, so that's 200 to her. Yeah, I know. So it's really 850 is what I'm spending on food. Phenomenal. It is a phenomenal amount, but I have to know that our child has eaten. I could not live worrying whether or not she's had any food today. So, we will take it on the chin. We will do it. And we've got another couple of months, and then she's back home in May. So everything should start coming back down a bit, because she'll be eating what we're eating at home, and the cost will reflect and come down in that. But goodness me, I do feel as though we are spiraling where food is concerned, and wherever we can, wherever's possible, you buy a little extra, don't you? Because you've got no choice and you just pop it back into storage and you just stretch every meal. But if I'm struggling, there are others that are struggling as well. So I feel your pain because I'm feeling it. Oof, gosh, it's hard. Actually, it brings me to a fantastic novel which was written in 1975 by John Rowe Townsend called Noah's Castle. This is a children's book. That's what it looks like. I've done a review on this before. So if you want to, I'll try and pop a link for the book review that I did for it onto this video. But gosh, this was fiction in 1975. There was a TV show actually that went with this, and some darling person has popped it up onto YouTube. Fantastic. I know, and I shall be watching it because I never thought that art would be imitating life or life imitating art, but here we are. What was written about in this book in 1975, 50 years down the line, and here we are living the dream. Or are we living the nightmare? Indeed. Nick McCarthy did the television series 1979 to 1980. There was one season and 7 episodes. So if I can find the gentleman that put the series up, I'll be sure to direct you to where it is, definitely. Or if not, I'll try, if possible, to do a link for you to his channel. I just need to find it because I only briefly found it and I thought, I wonder if that is something that's going to be, widely available. You never know, it's YouTube. Anyway, so yeah, it is up there. No, and it's called Noah's Castle. And as I say, Nick McCarthy was the writer for the television series, adapted from John Rowe Townsend's book Noah's Castle. Now, I will read the little author's note, and this is from John. This story is set in a future which you can suppose to be 2 or 3 years after the time at which you are reading it. But I am not predicting that the conditions it describes will actually come about. It is a work of fiction, not of forecasting. John Rowe Townsend. And that was in 1975, 50 years ago. By the way, this is an original first edition, and believe me, it cost a pretty penny. Whether or not this is still in print, I'm not sure, but I think you might be able to get it on Kindle. Now, I have to go to chapter 5, and I must read this to you, my darlings, because does this not sound familiar? Late January, still no snow. Fine, clear, crisp days when the sky stayed icy blue and the morning frost was hard as diamond. Lovely weather if you had a food, a warm house, thick clothes, but there were more and more people this January who hadn't. We heard about it in a talk after talk after talk, on television or in current affairs classes at school. The difference between the way things were now and the kind of crisis talks we'd been hearing for years was what was happening now. You could go outside and see for yourself what was happening. The cost of living had doubled in a month. People who were in work were still not doing too badly. They got their wages increased each week and spent them the day they came, before everything went up again. But there were so many who weren't in work. Father's shop cutting its staff by more than half was only a tiny example. The plastics factory on the new industrial estate behind our school had closed altogether because it couldn't get the foreign currency it needed to buy its raw materials. Industries all over the country were in the same position. It was just as Father had said. Nobody wanted our currency anymore. Swiss francs, yes. Gold, yes. Paper, no. Money was dying. You see, Swiss francs, yes, and gold, yes. Paper, no. Money was dying. The lines at the employment exchange lengthened. There were beginnings to be queues at the shops too. Rationing had been brought in suddenly at a day's notice, after repeated warnings that it might have to come, but denials that it was actually imminent. Now we had little squares of thin, smudgily printed paper that entitled us to buy 4 ounces of meat a week, 2 ounces of bacon and butter and cheese, and a daily half-pound of bread. But you had to find these things first, to say nothing of finding the money to pay for them. Supermarkets sold out by mid-morning, and it was said that far more people would have to be turned away if there weren't so many who couldn't afford to take up their rations. In some ways, it was beginning to feel as if we were living in a bad film. You couldn't believe in what was happening, but it was true. Or perhaps nothing was true anymore. You just had to let life wash over you. Many things went on as usual, but with a grotesque feeling of unreality about them. We still went to school and had the same lessons. These were stirring times, our English teacher told us. All we need is something in the pot to stir. Even the groans were half-hearted. The school midday dinner, getting dearer by the week, now consisted mainly of vegetables which still weren't rationed. Usually there was gravy and occasionally a scrap of meat. But although the food wasn't appetizing, the plates were scraped clean. The principal's complaints about waste, which had gone on for years, ceased overnight. There was no waste now, and overcrowding in the dining hall ceased as well, because there were so many children whose parents couldn't pay for the meal anymore. These were usually the least well nourished. At Rose Grove, we ate frugally, but we ate well. Father was still managing to accumulate stores, but only very slowly, and not with his old urgency. He was inclined to go to the smaller shops for reasons which I didn't understand until the day in the school holidays when he couldn't get away from work and sent me to Mr. Turp's corner butchery for the meat rations. When I got to the shop, Mr. Turp was just turning an elderly would-be customer away. "See for yourself," he was saying, waving an arm around in the direction of his empty slabs. "Not enough to feed a blue bottle." I turned to follow the customer out, but Mr. Turp called me back. He was a small, sharp man with spectacles, not at all the kind of person you'd think of as a butcher. "You're Norman Mortimer's boy, aren't you?" he asked. I nodded. "I think I might find something for you. Where's your tickets?" I handed them over. Mr. Turp went behind the scenes and reappeared with a small wrapped package. "Lamb chops," he said. "They're quite nice. Can't give you any choice, I'm afraid. You're lucky to get anything. You've just seen that for yourself." "Yes," I said. "I don't understand why." "Don't trouble your head about it, lad. That'll be just £200 official controlled price. £200 for 4 lamb chops. Wow. £50 a lamb chop. I handed the money over, a few crumpled notes. "Time was when that would have been a lot," Mr. Turp said. "Now it's like the pretend money you use in a game. I don't know why I bothered to take it." He did take it all the same. "Put the meat in your bag quickly," he said, "and don't go just yet. There's old Mr. Briggs again. Wait till I've finished with him." The elderly customer had come back into the shop. This time his equally elderly wife was with him. "We were wondering, Mr. Turp," he said, "we were wondering if you might happen to have some bones around. Just a few bones that we could buy." "Bones, Mr. Briggs? There are no bones in this shop. Only my own old bones, and yours, of course." Mr. Turp laughed heartily. Then he said with an air of generosity, "Wait a minute. I might just have something back there. I'll have a really good look around for you." He came back with a package of bones wrapped in newspaper, which he opened to show the old people. A little meat still clung to the bones. They eyed it eagerly. "How much, Mr. Turp?" the old man asked. "Nothing, Mr. Briggs, nothing. Take it with my compliments." "Thank you, Mr. Turp. We're very grateful." "Don't mention it, Mr. Briggs." The old pair shuffled out. Mr. Turp turned to me again. "Actually," he said, "I'm afraid I told that old chap, a little white lie when he first came in. I do have a certain amount of stuff, but there's no point in selling it at a controlled price to old age pensioners. Might almost as well give it away." "So you sold at controlled price to me?" "Yes, lad, yes." Mr. Turp leaned over the counter thoughtfully. "You're not quite the same. You're Norman Mortimer's lad. Your name's Barry, isn't it? Well, Barry, as I was saying, I do have a certain amount of stuff around, and I don't sell it on the black market, I may add. Oh, I know there are some who do, 10 times the proper price they ask, and get it too. I wouldn't do that. Besides," and his voice dropped suddenly from a virtuous to a knowing note, "it's still only paper money, isn't it? Now, Barry, your dad runs a shoe shop. My wife and me, we could both do with a new pair of winter shoes. I reckon me and your dad could do a deal. His shoes, my meat. Fair exchange is no robbery, eh?" I didn't say anything. And that was written 50 years ago. I would suggest, if you're into children's young adult literature, I mean, this was written for children, I would say older children, not younger. And I wonder if this was printed today, whether or not it would actually be printed, given the times we're living in now. But it's still a very good read, and I do recommend it. It really gets you in the feels. It really does highlight the plight of the British people. It does get a lot darker. That was entry level. Yeah, definitely. But as far as the cost of living, now you know what I truly spend on food. It's frightening. It's terrifying. And I just don't know where it's going to end. Because I know I don't have a budget that can keep going up and up and up. Eventually, there's just going to be things that we're not going to get. And I think that starts now. I just don't know. So anyway, if you've got anything you'd like to say on my video, please do comment below. If you like what I do, you can give me a thumbs up. And if you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow and come back later when I will do probably another video for you, my darlings. I'm glad that you're still enjoying Monty. Gosh, he's a little fellow, isn't he? This morning he was rolling in mud. Yes, he is now a black cat with white spots, instead of being a white cat with black spots. Never mind. I think we'll give him a bath later. Now, that should be fun. Anyway, my darlings, I hope you have a lovely weekend. If you can, get yourself down the pub, get yourself a pint of beer, because goodness me, I think we need it. And I will talk to you later. All right, my darlings. Oh, and I hope you're reading fabulous good books too, especially books like this, very dystopian in nature. I will try and do a link to my book review. Take care, my darlings. Bye bye.